Hi, Mark Lee with Overthinking.com here, and I'm here at New York Comic Con with Dan Wallace. Hi, Dan.
Hey, how are you?
Dan is the author of...
Well, let's see. This is a Star Wars, couple of Star Wars books. This is Book of Sith, which is a prototype, which is coming out. There's the Jedi Path, which came out last year, and we have a new edition of this year. There is the Darth Vader, I'm juggling, 3D reconstruction log, and I didn't have room to carry the Joker, a visual history of the Clown Prince of Crime, which is a history of the Joker through 2010.
So let's talk about Star Wars a little bit. I was curious when I heard that you had written a book about the Path of the Jedi and the Book of Sith. When I think about the Star Wars movies, you don't see a lot of books. You see a lot of people with holograms and other things, you know, that transmit information. So how in the Star Wars universe do you see people like having the old dead tree, old media?
Yeah, they have space books or holograms. But I don't know, you know, it's one of those things where I think you can overthink it in terms of like the expanded universe, because we'll do that. Like there'll be a book that'll be published, like a novel, Star Wars novel, and they'll be talking about a pocketbook. Like they won't use the word pocketbook; they'll call it like your credit ship holder thing. And then the movies come out, and in episode 2 you get this scene with Obi-Wan and Dexter in the diner, and they're talking, and Dexter says, it depends on how big your pocketbook is. And it's like, oh, wait a minute, we can use that word in Star Wars.
There you go.
So I'm sure that while they use holograms, they also have books on paper. I don't see why not. Scrolls? You know, I don't know. But anyway, we wanted to make a book that felt like it could be a book in the Star Wars universe. So it's got, the one that comes in the case doesn't have a logo on it, but this one had to because it's a standalone. But it's sort of a leathery sort of binding. The paper itself feels a little old.
I understand it's annotated by famous Jedi of the Star Wars universe as well.
It is annotated. So we've got the, well, here's the famous Jedi. The famous Jedi who annotated it include Anakin. Actually, it's a chain of command, basically. It's Qui-Gon, it's Obi-Wan, it's, well, you know. And if after Ahsoka, it falls into the hands of the Emperor, and eventually it falls in the hands of Luke. So what that does from a fun perspective, or from a writer's perspective, is it allows me to sort of give a historical perspective on, you know, what these guys are all about, what makes them tick.
Excellent. Let's talk about the Book of the Sith and the Jedi. Were there other sort of texts that you used as models for this? Is the Book of the Sith like a religious thing? Is it like something from the Bible, maybe in the Book of Mormon?
All right. Wow. Hey, that's a good thought. Here's the thing: is the Sith, and I'm spoiling the surprise because I wanted to reset this thing because it kicks in. The Book of the Sith was, if this is a textbook, would the Sith have a textbook? And our answer was kind of no. Like, I don't see why they would. Like, they don't sit down in class and they're like, all right, Sith dudes, open your book to page 72. They're really jealous about their power. They don't want to share it with a lot of people. So the idea was that, well, how are we going to do this here? And what it is instead is it's a collection of documents that the Emperor had sort of stolen, basically. So he took people's journals from various areas of history. He put them together. He took the stuff that he liked. He bound it in his own book. He called it the Book of the Sith, and he keeps it in this awesome
keepsake.
Right? So I actually bumped it earlier, but let me do it again fresh so you can see how this works. This is a prototype. The book itself is coming out next February 10th, but this is a prototype we made especially for Comic-Con, so bear with me, but this is what we're aiming for.
Wow. Let's switch gears and talk step outside of the universe for a moment. In working with Lucasfilm and getting this an officially licensed Star Wars product, what was that experience like? I think they have a reputation of very carefully protecting the Star Wars brand and the types of stories that get told with the Star Wars name.
They really do. I mean, this was actually a lot of fun because what we were able to do, this is the first time a book has been published. This and actually the Jedi Path, which came before this, which was last year's version of this. It was less evil looking, but it was the same principle. An artifact that's also a book. So it's a combination of collecting, almost like a collectible, with a publishing thing. So it had never been done before. We had to go through some hoops just to make sure that we were presenting things in the right way, especially for the Sith thing.
Right.
Because we didn't want it to be perceived as yay, we're celebrating evil. At the end of the day, Lucasfilm is still really, everybody over there really believes, Star Wars is a story of good over evil, and they didn't want to go too far in that direction. So actually, when you read the final version of this, there's counterpoints from people who have reviewed the text before, including some of the texts were held in the Jedi Temple briefly, where they were reviewed by people like Mace Windu, Sam Jackson's character.
So what you're saying is that the Sith, it's not a manual for becoming a Sith Lord. I can't read the thing and then obtain ultimate evil power.
It makes them tick. Like, it's kind of a guide to their philosophy. Some of the stuff is more about science. Some is more about mysticism. Some is more about Machiavellian power stuff, and some of it is more like Sun Tzu, Art of War stuff. But it helps you understand where they're coming from a little bit better.
Since you're the author of a book about Darth Vader and the Sith, can you give us your best Darth Vader no for the camera? And I'm going to do a dramatic upshot here.
All right, this is how Darth Vader does it. It kind of goes like this. Kind of.
Awesome. And on that note, let's wrap it up. Dan Wallace, thanks so much for speaking to Overthinking.com. This has been Mark Lee, and enjoy the rest of the con.
All right, thanks.